for being here. So, this question of how nervous everybody is. And when you look at those numbers about parents being so concerned to send their kids back to school, should fear keep them from doing that? Does former Vice President Biden believe that these kids need to get back into the classroom this fall for a myriad of reasons?
Well, thank you for having me tonight. Look, I think this is similar to the conversation that folks were having a couple months ago about reopening. And just as a couple months ago, where Vice President Biden noted it was a false choice on whether do we want to get people back to work or do we want to keep folks safe from the coronavirus? That's a false choice. This is similarly a false choice. It's not about folks who want to reopen schools versus people who do not. This is about what's safe. Everyone, including Vice President Biden, wants to ensure that our children are back in school, but it has to be done safely. And as President Trump is saying, all throughout this last week and a half, folks from the administration as well, that we just have to get folks back to work. Creating a mandate is not a plan. The coronavirus, COVID-19, is still very much so with us. And so that means you need testing, you need contact tracing, you need to be working with and issuing guidance to governors and folks across this country. And Vice President Biden again believes that we need a plan to do that. He's put forth
when you look at the fact, you look at these other countries that have done it safely. I mean, at what point? So everyone stays home in their house until there's a vaccine? I mean, at some point we need to say, and think about what's happening with so many kids across America right now anyway. Their lives being put in danger by other things, by other factors. Their parents have to go back to work. Some of them are in abusive homes. It's been, documented in ways that are truly scary. You look at the numbers of children and what they die from, the flu, suicide, homicide, which we've covered here a lot over the past few weeks. Do you ever look at all of this and say, this is shocking that we have put ourselves into this position of being so hunkered down in this environment when we do know some of the things that help to keep us safe when we go out?
Well, Martha, to be clear, we're in this position because the Trump administration failed to act. As early as January and February, the Trump administration and the president specifically knew that COVID-19 was a threat, and they did nothing. We're still trying to figure out what the president exactly was doing in January and February. So the fact that we have record numbers of unemployment in this country,
about where we are right now,
the fact that we are still, and whether or not we are still currently in, what is this, July, we don't know the state of things, and we don't have real plans to send from the federal government to send kids back to school. The fact that government, local governments,
the federal government has put out 13.2. No, hold on. Now the federal government has put out 13.2 billion.
This is a lack of a plan from the Trump administration, Martha.
$13.2 billion have gone to schools across America from the federal government. Only $195 million has been spent, and what we're hearing is that they want more money. That the teachers need more money in order to reopen the schools. And you know what? I think people get that. They see what's at work there. Now I want to ask you something about the agenda here overall in terms of charter schools, because one of the things that's been suggested is that if a school does not want to reopen, an individual taxpayer should be able to use the money that is allocated for their child to make the choice to send them to either a charter school that is opening or a religious school in their area. Why shouldn't a parent be able to do that? Or do you believe that they should?
Martha, I am not sure what plan you are referencing, but I can tell you that we have yet to see a plan from this administration on how to safely reopen schools. We have yet to see the president partnering with governors and talking to folks like teachers, putting a plan together with them. Look, Betsy DeVos did the morning shows. I at least saw one this past weekend, and she didn't have an answer on what the plan was. That is not a plan.
So you're just saying
a mandate is not a plan.
Okay.
So what I am saying, Martha, let me be clear, is that Vice President Biden has been extremely clear. Dr. Biden, his wife, is a teacher, okay? So she's someone who has been in the classroom, and he believes that this is a false choice. It's not, do we keep kids at home and beat the virus, or do we send them back to school? The question is, how can we go forward safely with a plan that protects not just the students, but the teachers, the custodial staff, the folks who serve the lunch? This is about
the studies so far show that children are not transmitting this virus in big numbers in the places that have reopened. I'm looking at the science. I'm looking at the numbers. I'm looking at the data that we've seen from Europe.
Which is why I said this is not just about the students. This is about the teachers. This is about custodial
but it's mostly
staff.
about
the students. The entire economy.
It's mostly about the learning loss that they've had over the last several months, and that could be absolutely devastating to these students if they don't get back to school. I want to play one thing from President Trump, because he definitely used the opportunity in the Rose Garden to really dig into the campaign issues here, and I want to give you a chance to respond to this. This is President Trump earlier. Watch this.
Today, Joe Biden gave a speech in which he said that the core of his economic agenda is a hard left crusade against American energy. He wants to kill American energy. He wants to impose the Green New Deal on our country. When I first saw the Green New Deal, I thought it was a joke.
What's your response to that, Simone, on behalf of the former vice president?
Yeah, my response to that is Donald Trump isn't telling the truth. It pains me to say that he lied from the Rose Garden today. I wish he turns the tape and watches Vice President Biden's address today. He talked about the second flank of his Build Back Better plan, a plan to create good union-paying jobs for working families across this country and bring everyone along. And today, our plan focused on a clean energy economy and infrastructure. You know, the White House often talks about Infrastructure Week for Infrastructure Week. You know, we have yet to see an infrastructure plan, but today Vice President Biden unveiled one that had support from unions and folks in the climate community, because it's a plan that works.
Well, you know what?
It is a plan that creates jobs.
He says he had 8 years in the White House and 48 years on Capitol Hill to fix the bridges and do infrastructure, and in 48 years he never did it. I'll let you respond to that before I let you go.
Well, within the first month of the Obama-Biden administration, they got to work on the Recovery Act that gave money across the country to things like rebuilding America's crumbling infrastructure.
Mr. President,